This is the Four-Man Rush. Hello, Panther fans, and welcome to another podcast with the Four-Man Rush. I'm your host, Timmy V.O., here with Kevin and Will. Unfortunately, Larry, he tends to go coming in and out a little bit because he's super duper busy, right? Our own Larry is actually on the dean's list, and a function related to academics right now as we speak. So, big shout out to Larry, and we're super proud to have someone of his intellectual level to contribute on the Four-Man Rush podcast. Way to go, Larry! Keep it rolling, man. Okay, so thanks for dropping by. Not a lot to talk about this week, but we are going to give you some information that's definitely going to make you think, pertaining to a couple of the news clips that came out this week. One being someone mentioning that the Browns are poised to have a stellar season, possibly better than the Panthers season is going to turn out. So we're going to talk about that, analyze the two. And I'm going to tell you right now, I find that hilarious. But anyway, second topic we're going to touch on tonight is what our own Bruce Irvin had to say about the current Panthers defense and how they look in relation to the 2013 Seahawks that he used to play on, the Legion of Boom, that were, outstanding. So, Bruce kind of has the insight on that. And he says we're pretty close to that. We'll touch on that too. And we're going to touch on something that I think a lot of people, especially nowadays with fantasy football, things of that nature, everybody's so involved with statistics and the analytics of the game of football and sports in general. And we're going to talk about how the analytics is impacting the game of football as a whole, because, especially us, the Four-Man Rush, we use analytics and statistics daily, right? And it gives us a much better view on what the game is looking like, and how our players can improve themselves, things of that nature. We'll get into all that stuff too. So let's start with the Browns, poised to have a better season than the Carolina Panthers. Oh man! Now don't get me wrong. They got some young guns on that squad, and we all know they gave us the L last year. So but it is the Browns. But anyway, so we'll start off with Will. I can't remember the individual's name that gave that that response, but Browns season versus the Panthers season. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, just to provide some background, Gerald McCoy went on First Take. Was it First Take? No, it was
yeah, it was First Take.
Skip and Shannon.
No, Skip and Shannon. That's right.
Skip and
Undisputed. Yeah.
And he explained why he chose the Panthers over the Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. He was basically saying that he liked the Panthers' stability and thought they were in the best position to win now. So this Cleveland Browns writer wrote an article, Cleveland.com, talking about how Gerald McCoy was wrong and that the Browns are better suited for long-term success than the Panthers are right now. And so you look at that, it's like, I like what the Browns did this offseason. When you add an Odell Beckham, of course, you got to give them an applause for that. They added Greedy Williams in the draft. They got a good young core. Still, they're young players. This is their first year that a lot of them are playing together. Their coach took over late last season, and this is his first full year as the head coach. They got a new defensive coordinator. So they don't have the stability that the Panthers have with Ron Rivera, who's been here for years. Cam Newton is a former MVP quarterback. Baker Mayfield looks promising, but, he's going to have that sophomore slump. So I think it's possible. The Browns are a talented team, but they have a lot more questions than what the Panthers do right now.
Indeed.
Yeah, well, when I first, came across this story, and I got to be honest, I got a little bit of a chuckle. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns, who were 2 years ago, 1-31, and they had a respectable I think they went 8-8 this past year, and then they've pretty much been hitting the free agency and trades, and pretty much put together what some have considered potentially a fantasy team at multiple positions. I mean, when you look at all the players that they've added, I mean, Kareem Hunt in the backfield with Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson, even though he's a little disgruntled, but when we just talk strictly talent-wise, I mean, on every level, especially skill positions, I mean, you can argue that, it's like looking at a fantasy team lineup. So and I can get that the fans of Cleveland have been long-suffering and patient, so, them feeling pretty good and hype. I'm not really mad at that from a fan perspective because, they've been a joke. They've been the butt of so many jokes. Look, I'm getting tongue-tied talking about these dogs. But anyway, it's just the fact that I'm not mad at the fans having expectations, but let's calm it down a little bit because, if a lot of us don't remember back in 2010, the Philadelphia Eagles, went on a similar spree where they picked up several key brand name players that were still quote unquote in their prime. And, they was dubbed as the super team. And if I'm not mistaken, they didn't even make the playoffs that year, So, and another thing you got to take into the fact is that now that Cleveland has got all this hype, you're going to be getting teams best punch every week versus teams. I'm not going to say they always took them for granted, but let's be honest. You wasn't exactly, psyched up to be playing the Cleveland Browns. You pretty much know, hey, if I do just enough, we're going to get this win. So, the fact that they feel like that Gerald McCoy is not going to a winning situation. When I read the article, it was talking about how New Orleans and Atlanta got high-power offenses with Drew Brees and Matt Ryan at quarterback, which is true, and how, Tampa's going to be up and rising and how Bruce Arians has a resume of bringing out the best of quarterbacks, and they think he's going to do the same thing with Jameis Winston. But, statistics on paper have never materialized to wins on the field. So at the end of the day, you still got to put on them cleats, you're going to put on them pads, and you're going to have to go out there and you're going to have to earn that W. And I just, until Cleveland does it, I'm not buying into the hype, but they are going to be entertaining to watch. But I just think that overall, Carolina does have a better winning situation. You got an MVP at quarterback, Cleveland don't. You got a head coach that's been through the trial and error phase and finally figure out how to stop playing checkers and start playing chase. You got a first-year offense coordinator who's now head coach. You got a defensive, with Rivera taking over for the defense now and play calling versus Steve Wilkes, who's, who came from the Rivera tree, but his scheme is pretty much simple. Blitz the front seven and drop the secondary back 10 yards and just hope they tackle. You know what I'm saying? So when you add all that in, plus with everybody going to be giving Cleveland their best shot, I'm not saying they're not going to win and possibly have a winning season, but it's not going to be so easily given to them as it's been perceived to be. But I just like the fact that with Carolina, our situation is, we know our division, we know our opponents, we know what they want to do. We are better suited on both sides of the ball to counter what our opponents do while imposing our own will. So I definitely think that Gerald McCoy made the best choice by coming here, and we're gonna have fun 17 weeks proving why that choice was right.
Real quick, who's in the Browns? Who's in the Browns division?
As far as the Browns division, that's the AFC North.
Gotcha.
You had the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Baltimore Ravens. So, that's the division that the Cleveland Browns are in.
And they think they're going to have a better season than the Panthers. Yeah, no.
Hey, according to paper and probably according to Madden, yeah.
Yeah, right? It sounds like a Madden roster.
You probably gonna have a record amount of people, using the Cleveland Browns on Madden than probably the whole Madden franchise this year.
Right. Man, and like you said though, man, Baker's he's a gamer, dude. He's something else, man. But everything else has to click, and there's some personalities on that team. I'm not sure if that locker room is gonna be stable. Because Baker will show his ass. We all seen it.
Yeah, and I think they kind of misunderstood what Gerald McCoy was talking about. The Panthers they talked about who wouldn't want to play on a defense with Luke Kuechly.
Right.
And play next to K1 Short, Ron Rivera being the defensive mind that he is. So just weighing all these factors, he just felt that Carolina was the best situation out of all of his choices. You got to respect that.
Yeah, right. I mean, it makes sense. If you're that type of player, I mean, come on, dude. You got Cam on one side and Luke on the other, and then you got Rivera, who's well respected by a lot of defensive players, coordinators, coaches. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer, man. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, and if you want to look at the fact that, everybody in the AFC potential division had a whole offseason to study up and break down film on them. So even though you're adding much more talent, you're still going to be using, a scheme that they got on film. So, and as everybody knows, you'll have your way for a while, but the NFL has proven time and time again they adapt and they adjust, particularly when it comes to defense. Remember when several years ago when the Wildcat broke out and it was causing all kind of nightmares, and now you barely see that, if any. So what I'm saying. So the NFL, you'll have a year, maybe two, to do something, but once it adjusts and figures you out, then what you're going to do. So yeah, Cleveland, don't talk our ears off about it. You know what I'm saying? Show up, but we got our own plans. We're trying to be in the 305 come February. So,
Amen. And for you listeners out there, the 305 is Miami-Dade County. So that's what the Super Bowl is. Just saying, prepare yourselves. It's going to be a fun season. But, good luck to Cleveland. I respect your ballsiness, I guess you can say. But, we got our own things to worry about. So yeah, good luck. We see you. All right, so on to the next topic. Our very own Bruce Irvin, who played for the previously the Raiders and the Falcons, and that Seattle team, the Great Legion of Boom. Man, they had one heck of a defense. So he apparently drew comparisons to the Legion of Boom, the defense of the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, to our current defensive makeup, talent-wise. Obviously, we haven't played anybody, so it's hard to say that. But he's from a talent standpoint. Bruce Irvin is comparing this defensive squad to the Legion of Boom. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, what I think is that with Bruce Irvin, when he was doing this interview, he was being asked questions, and let me go ahead and put the official statement out there, and then we can work from there.
Yeah.
It was, let me see who did this. This was Scott Fowler, one of the local media writers that cover the Panthers. And Irvin was walking back from minicamp practice, and Fowler asked him what the defensive line looked like. And this is what Jerry McCoy said, quote, unquote. He said, defense looks great. And Irvin said, this kind of compares to that 2013 front we had when we won the Super Bowl. And that was the end of the quote. And then Fowler followed up saying that Irvin was referring to one of the greatest defenses of the past decade, that was named the Legion of Boom. When you think about the defensive line, that Seattle had on that defense, I mean, we're talking Michael Bennett.
Yeah. Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce Irvin, is just a bunch of headaches is what I can remember, because we would always seem to lose to these guys by less than a touchdown, during that epic stretch, and that 2013 season was the one where D'Angelo Williams decided to fumble on that long breakaway, but we're going to let that go, Right. But, overall, Irvin was going on to saying that team went 8 deep up front. When he was talking about the Seahawks, he was saying we had 4 good guys, and then we had 4 more that was ready with no drop-off. And he just feels like that what he's seen so far with the Panthers, defensive front rotation, that, he sees talent that just reminds him of that. So,
all right, so next topic, we're going to talk about how analytics can help a football team. I'm even seeing that in high school, what they call Pop Warner, Pee Wee, whatever league. people are using analytics throughout the spectrum, man, from K through 12 through college, semi-pro, pro. Analytics is a huge part of sports as a whole, basketball, football, you name it. And you guys are really, really into the statistical aspect of the game, far more than I am. I'm more of like a technique kind of guy, but you guys are really in there. So I guess Kevin, we'll start with you. What's your take on the analytics and the statistical input in terms of the game of football and how do you see it helping coaches and things of that nature prepare for battle, so to say?
Yeah, well, when you talk about analytics, before I get into how it's going to help us, let's, kind of break it down, to what analytics is, because, people may hear that word, but not necessarily have a full grasp here at the Four Man Rush.
Yeah,
We try to help educate our fans. So,
for sure.
To give you the simple definition here of analytics, when used as a noun, it says the systematic computerization analyst of data and statistics. Information resulting from the systematic analysis of data of statistics here. And so what that means is basically using the computer, being able to use different formulas to calculate how different methods can be performed that will lead to better results here for you. So with the Panthers, with this new analytics, if y'all remember when Dave Tepper, Mr. Tepper took over for the team, this was something that he was driving home early and often, wanting to be about, wanting the team to be as modern, as updated as possible. And he definitely wanted to enhance, having an analytics team here with the Panthers. So when it turns to football here, it says data analytics refers to the techniques and processes used to enhance productivity and business gain. So when you tied it into football, with analytics, basically seeing how things are done and measuring the results. And then once those results come out, make the adjustments to see how it can better help your team. So pretty much, not just from an X and O standpoint, which is something that here at the Four Man Rush we do a lot of, but, with this new guy, and by the way, his name is Taylor Rajat is his name. I'll let Will go into his background a little bit here in just a moment, but he's pretty much, not only doing it from an X and O standpoint on the field with the players, but as far as like everything from, weightlifting, from traveling, every aspect that deals with the franchise, he now will have analytics on it to how to help improve and how to make it do better. So I think it's long overdue. I think this is something that will yield results that will allow the Panthers to have a more competitive edge. And I, for one, look forward to whatever information will be shared. Obviously, you don't want to put out all your business, but I definitely want to see how these analytics will help the team throughout the year and the seasons that follow.
Right on. Will?
Yeah, just some background. Tepper came into the Carolina organization. The first thing that stood out to him was that they don't use analytics as part of their decision-making process. And, that's, you look at the emergence of websites like Pro Football Focus, Football Outsiders. There's just so many different websites that perform statistical analysis and, perform work on what plays are more efficient to run at what times, help you with game management and decision-making, on the field. And I think the Panthers were a step behind in that regard. So that's just one of the things that Tepper came in his first season, observed, and wanted to add to what the Panthers already have in place. So I think you look at the Panthers last year, there was a lot of wasted time. Time management wasn't that great. So I think it's just anything you can do to become a more efficient football team, improve decision-making, better manage the clock. I think I'm all for it. So I think Tepper ultimately just wanted to have his put his stamp on the organization, and I think this is the first step in that direction. What do I think of analytics? I'm not a fan of everything PFF does, like their player grades and things like that. But they do have a lot of good statistical data that could help, learn about a player or learn about a team. What are these guys good at? What do they need to improve on? How productive are you on your pass rush, or how productive are you in coverage? So there's so many stats in their database that could be really helpful and useful for a team in their decision making process. So hopefully, we see the results on the field this upcoming year.
Indeed, man. And I know we talked off mic about this. Our scouting personnel has done an excellent job over the past couple of seasons, and finding some gems. Third, fourth round, fifth round. And that's another part of the analytics side of the especially the professional ranks of football. Is gathering intel on talent and potential athletes that you're going to draft, and seeing that come to fruition, and it's a beautiful thing. But I know the Panthers scouting staff has been some of the best out there, from what I can gather. How do you guys feel about?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like for example, I think drafting a quarterback in the third round this year, it's thinking long term and thinking about return on investment. You invest a third round pick on a quarterback this year, develop them, and then what do you have? Either you're going to have a starting future franchise quarterback, or you may flip them for a second round pick down the road, first or second round pick. So if you use a third now and pick up an additional second or first round pick down the road, that's a good investment. So I just think those are the types of decision making, you want in your organization, thinking long term, and then just using, analytics and that would make those types of decisions.
Kevin, you have anything to add?
Yeah, y'all pretty much covered it. I'm just someone that thinks that, the fact that we're catching up on so many different levels to doing what other successful, consistent winning franchises are doing. I like that Mr. Tupper is leading by example and making sure that we're, catching up to everybody, from analytics to, the bubble that was just, put up over the practice field to, all these different aspects that he has his fingerprint squarely on. As a fan, I'm just really excited about seeing how all these things are going to yield results of success, definitely on the field as a fan, but also off the field as well. So, this definitely is not something that's going to hinder us. I see that, the new analytics guy, Taylor, he's got his own office. Pretty much he's going to have someone from each department reporting to him. So, even though he's 27-year-old and MIT graduate, he definitely someone that's well qualified to help get us there. He got a Super Bowl ring by being with those Eagles a couple of years ago. So, obviously he knows analytics that can help guide a team to make the right decision to get to a Super Bowl. So I'm all for it.
Right on.
Yeah, perfect example. Look how the Eagles won that Super Bowl. Doug Peterson was going for it on fourth down and making high return on investment decisions. So like 4th and 2 late in the game. Do I want to give the ball back to Tom Brady, or do I want to go for it? If I go for it, I have a better chance of getting 2 yards than winning if I punt and give Tom Brady the field to march down and score a touchdown. So that's just an example of maybe how analytics comes into play. You have a better probability of winning if you go for it on maybe a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 rather than punt the ball and give it to a high-powered offense who's most likely going to score on your defense pretty easily. So that's just one example of how analytics could have played a role in the Eagles' on-field decision-making. Maybe in some of those 4th down scenarios, the analytics showed that the probability of success was high and that the trade-off between punting and missing the 4th down wasn't great enough. So, I'm just interested to see how it affects Ron Rivera's decision-making, game management, and, does he go for it more often on 4th and short, especially with Cam at quarterback? Just things like that. I think we can maybe see that impact immediately this year.
We shall see, folks. We shall see. Now, I'm sure Cam probably going to protect that shoulder. And Rivera probably as well. But he is he is a specimen. He is highly competitive. We'll see. It's a beautiful thing about analytics. It helps you make educated decisions, more quickly. Man, it's amazing how much communication goes on the sideline. I mean, yeah, coach got his headphones on, but there's a lot of other stuff going on the sideline. Person to person, not just necessarily through the comms. So yeah, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. Everybody has to be a team unit. Everybody has to understand their job and their role on the sideline just as well as on the field. So yeah. Good stuff, people. Good stuff. Somewhat of a short podcast. Don't get used to it because when the season pops off, you're going to get a lot of information from us folks. But it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? Any news or concerns, questions, topics?
Yeah, it's just the slow part of the off season, so we'll keep giving y'all content and information to keep you updated, and hopefully we'll pick up as training camp and the season gets going on.
Indeed. Now, of course, we got some stuff behind the scenes that's coming along. And Kevin, if you want to touch on that real quick, man, give people an update.
Yeah, as far as what's going on behind the scenes, want to let you guys know that the Four-Man Rush website is a little over halfway done. We have a tentative, we have a tentative date of around mid-July, sometime right before training camp starts, when we look to unveil our website. This website will be very fan-friendly. It's set up to be just like a lot of the social media that we use, as far as like where you go to click to get this information and that information. It's going to be very educational. It's going to be something that fans on all levels can enjoy, from kids to senior citizens. We want to keep all Panther fans of all ages in mind when you come to our website. Yeah. So that's something that we've spent many hours discussing and putting ideas and thoughts together, and debates here and there. So that's something we're definitely looking forward to. Also, with this website being released, it's going to also have the ability for you fans to give us a call in during these podcasts. We're going to have our own Four-Man Rush business line where we can set it up to where you fans can call in and ask us questions, and get in on segments where you can share your thoughts and opinion, and you can be a part of our podcast. Looking forward to that. Also, we're looking at getting some apparel done. I like the fact that I see many different ideas for T-shirts, hats. Start off, something small, and depending on how you guys like it, we can expand it later. But we got a lot of good things that we're looking to do. We try to have Christmas in July for you folks, so definitely stay tuned, and we definitely look forward to you guys being a part of what we're doing, because without you guys, the Four-Man Rush, we would not be where we'd be. And I just want to thank all of our fans for being a big reason why we're currently having the success that we're having, as we're slow but steadily making our way up the ranks to being one of the top premier sources on social media for Panther fans to get all they need.
That's right, folks. That's right, and it's gonna be awesome, man. I mean, of course, I can't divulge to you, outside of the realm of the microphone here, but it's going to be amazing. Our heart is truly with the Panthers and the Panther organization, and we all have a lot of fans. I mean, well, not fans, excuse me, a lot of co-fans, of the team that were friends, family, things of that nature. So this is coming from a place of love and real understanding of the Panthers, and that's what we're going to try to share with you guys. Those shirts are going to be hot, man. Those shirts and those hats are going to be oof. They're gonna be hot, man.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna be exclusively on the Four Man Rush website. You can't get them anywhere else. So y'all stay tuned for that, man. It's gonna be something else. And that website, boy, whew. Kevin, of course, Kevin is keeping us updated via email, and we've seen some highlights, man. It's wow, well done, Kev. All right, so thanks again for dropping by and checking us out on the Four Man Rush podcast once again. This is your host Timmy VO, episode 15. Can you believe that, fellas? 15. We've done 15 episodes, man. Trucking along. But yeah, thank you, folks, for stopping by and keeping us on our toes when it comes to Panther information. We always want to make you guys happy and and do what's right by the Panthers and by the fans as well. So again, thanks. This is Timmy VO with the Four Man Rush with Kevin and Will, and big shout out to Larry for doing this thing. Keep it up. Peace out to Canardo and our blog writer Norris, and of course to you, the listeners and the Panther fans out there. Have a great evening, and always, as always, keep pounding.
I'm just taking time to really let it breathe. So baby, just chill. She love it. We out in public and we can just chill with my partners, and we can go back to my crib and just chill under covers and do we call me and you lovers.
The Four Man Rush is brought to you by the love and respect of and for the Carolina Panthers and Carolina Panther fans everywhere. Keep pounding. The Four Man Rush is a non-affiliate of the Carolina Panther organization. All thoughts, assessments, and content of this podcast is directly related to the Four Man Rush exclusively. Thank you.